What made you lose respect for someone? Quick, I need the points. Shouting at waiters. Oh, sharp knives. Wholesome. Starting to do coke several times a day every day for about 3 weeks. Even at school he was about 15 at the time. It turned him into a completely different person. About 2 weeks later I was woken up by him kicking and hitting my door, trying to break it down while screaming about me somehow owing him a lot of money. It scared me enough that I called the police, who got there quickly and upon searching him found about 500 grams of hash and several grams of coke. I got a restraining order the next day. About a month later my parents moved to a different city and I did the same a few months later. Before my parents got around to moving away, whenever he saw them at the local supermarket he'd scream and shout at my mom that him and his gang were gonna rape her. We had been pretty good friends for about 6 months and he'd come to my place every night to play games and try to process his father's suicide a few months earlier. People that use others' tragedies to gain sympathy and attention for themselves. Kentaro Miura passed and I'm a berserk superfan / fanboy whatever. He's an author and artist I loved very much and have followed since 8th grade for the last 19 years. His work has been a part of my daily life for almost 2 decades. I sent my best friend a link explaining that he had passed. My friend responded with lol. Cheating on their partner and treating retail staff like shit. I don't care how long I've been friends with someone, those two things are undeniable evidence that they're shitty people. I don't wanna waste my life around shitty people. A co-worker who got scammed out of money by giving out his password for some digital currency on Twitter. Yeah, fucking dumb, has now done the same thing to other people. Shit-talking people behind their back. If you shit-talk, at least have the balls to do it in the person's face. My dad demanding respect from me while being disrespectful himself. When I said, well, there's this thing called mutual respect, he retorted with, you don't deserve respect. Just because he got my mom pregnant doesn't mean he gets respect he doesn't deserve. Respect is earned, even by a parent. Had a serious disagreement with a family member about something very important, which led to them and a few others screaming they'll never talk to me again. My respect for them was already waning big time before this, so losing all of it wasn't that big a deal. It's my aunt. She automatically jumped on their side without asking any questions of what happened to begin with. Just straight up believed any and everything they said about me. And #X200B. That still didn't do it though. I understand just how deeply embedded manipulation can get. So I elect to at the very least talk before losing all respect for a person. Talked. She screamed at me. Accused me all types of shit. Even went so far as to do the internet thing where a person says any and all interactions with another person ends badly. Basically she came at me with every barrel. And #X200B. For context. I used to look up to her. She was the aunt that used to take us to colleges and whatnot, kung fu lessons, and just helped expand our minds the most. Only for her to do any and everything she could to save her ego in that moment. Needless to say, any and all respect is now gone. It's not even that I wanted her to know I was right. It was that I wanted her to have the ability to think maybe I was right. Which she didn't and doesn't have. I found out they were anti-vaccine. When some guy said age isn't anything but a number, while referring to my 16-year-old cousin. Mind you, he's 20. Borrowing money from my mother, his sister, yet have the audacity to blame my mother that she causes him the misfortune and health issues all these years. My dad treating me like a servant, and treating his family like a liability, while he gets all the nice things to himself. This girl I used to be friends W left her prescription pills in my car. I got pulled over for speeding and slapped a felony cause of her pills. 5K in fines, lawyer fees, community service and 2-year probation. She cut me off and said it was my fault, even though I would drive her to her apartment all the time and that's why she forgot them there. Originally she said she would help pay, but I know that's not true. Dad talks about faith. Has none on me for no reason. Just dismissed my chronic pain for over a decade and gaslit me into not getting proper medical help. You are not doing yoga/meditation didn't help either. Man gets a toothache, gets it treated within a day. Fucking great. I lost all my respect for him on that day. He argued with multiple people about how stupid it was to spend money on pets, such as vet care. Claims there is no use to them, except horses, because you can till the land with them in the event of an apocalypse. He also made a comment about having so many kids because they're essentially spare parts. Going to get hate for this probably. Drunk driving. There is no need for it with Uber, Lyft, cell phones. Like literally, call someone. If you gave good friends they would rather pick you up than let you drive drunk. Also, if you know you're going to get wasted, don't drive to the place, have a designated driver. Or drink at home. Another thing? Don't drink at your work, and never indulge to the point you make a mess of yourself. There is fun and then there is just being a disturbance to those around you. I probably will get hate for this, but I just can't stand when people get aggressive or weepy. It bothers me because I am a kind person and want to make things better, but you can't when someone is blubbering nonsense and then kisses you. At college in London I had a car and my mate didn't, nor a driving license, so I regularly drove to the other side of the city to pick him up or drop him off. Never once asked for petrol and would have rejected the offer if made. It's a mate, right? One night a group of us were out in town and decided to go watch a film. I called him up, told him to get over and I'd pick up an extra ticket to make sure he could make it. When he arrived he took the ticket, and casually said, "Get the money from Bob, he owes me." I'd spent my last £10 on that ticket. Everyone decided to go to McDonald's. I couldn't afford to eat. Then they decided to go to a bar. I swear he asked me what I wanted to drink. I asked for Coke. He came back holding two, thinking one was for me. I reached for it and he looked at me and said, "In your dreams," and walked past. Didn't have much to do with him after that. Edit, blimey. Didn't expect this reaction. Thanks for rewards and replies. Aftermath was that I withdraw and it was end of year so most went their own ways. Had some random contact after but kept my distance, didn't go out my way. Stayed polite, but haven't seen him for over 10 years now. No worries. He was a nice enough guy, just seriously tight and materialistic. Lost respect for my aunts after my grandma passed away. No one comes to visit my grandpa, who is now all alone. Anyone that wears a mask incorrectly. When my dad thinks he knows everything and that he is right all the time, and emotional abuse to me and everyone around him. Them being a fucking pedophile who had groomed multiple younger girls and sexually assaulted a few. Oh, so many things. My best friend, we'll call her Emma. She said she has cancer in her toe but the doctors wouldn't remove it, and that she's had it for 6 years and that it doesn't bother her. She said her parents abused she said on her birthday that her parents stabbed her in the eye, but refused to get help in any way. Said she had autism but she got surgery for it when she was 3. She obviously faked being $U exclamation mark dollar exclamation mark dollar. She was always complaining about how depressed she was and that she was gonna kill herself, then showed up the next day perfectly fine and said that she never said anything like it, and then did it again next week. She also dug into her wrists with a metal ruler in front of everyone like it was something she was proud of. She made fun of my braces, glasses, and left me at the end of the year for the popular girls, and got the nerve to talk to me after 3 months of not talking to me for dating advice. I've never dated anyone. She said she was non-binary, but then not 2 hours later was referring to herself as she/her. She straight up bullied me and my other friend for popularity, and when they were in a fight she would make me pick between them, and to top it all off she stole from me and tried to assault me. Thanks Emma, our friendship was great, thanks for the social anxiety. I forgot one. I'm a romantic. While playing Truth or Dare she dared me to kiss my crush. I reminded her my sexuality and gave her the definition, and her response was, "I know, I'm not the stupid one here, everyone has a crush. If you don't you're just a baby, or too afraid to admit it, you chicken." Lies and hypocrisy. I lost all my respect for someone very close to me after they fucked up my life entirely, and then 2 years on, has completely failed to learn from it in any way. The only reason similar mistakes haven't been made again is because I took control of things and removed the possibility for similar mistakes to be made. When they used their made-up illness to cheat their way into getting the disability support pension, money from the government for those with debilitating disabilities. I'm at the point where I'll probs punch this guy in the face if I ever see him again. My respect for him is long gone. My uncle stole $3,000 from me. You better not show your face around, motherfucker, or I'll wreck your legs and take everything away from you, leaving you with only your sorry, pathetic, useless life. There, I said it. And it feels so good. Less than 3 piece in Middle East. I'm out. Using something you said to them in confidence against you and trying to make you the bad guy. My parents watched my dogs while I was out of town for 3 weeks on my honeymoon. I was super happy about it, because they are very experienced dog owners, and had dog sat for me many times before I was married and had just one special needs dog, and the 2 my husband came with got on well with my parents and vice versa. All 3 dogs were seniors with special needs by that point, and one in particular needed some help getting up and down stairs. There are just a couple into their house, but my mom had been having some balance issues. And I was very careful to ascertain multiple times that helping my boy up and down 2 steps a few times a day wouldn't be overwhelming. We had 2 solid backup options if my parents had been at all uncomfortable, but my parents promised up and down that they weren't worried and planned to spoil the dogs rotten. I left the dogs there with everything they needed, and gave a quick rundown of what each of them needed and when, food/meds/potty wise, and a couple things regarding their physical mobility and safety. These were also written down concisely so they'd have an easy reference. Seriously. It was just a matter of giving two of them meds morning and evening that they thought were treats, helping the one with the stairs, using a slow feeder for the little one so she wouldn't puke everything up, and keeping a couple of doors shut so the third couldn't get into the places that weren't blind/deaf dog proofed. He was born that way and otherwise navigated superbly. Their special needs took maybe 10 minutes a day total on top of what any other dog would need. When I came to pick them up 3 weeks later, I was horrified to see how they had been treated. Rather than helping the one with stiff hips up and down 2 damn steps a few times a day, we had a hip harness for him that made it super easy. They just left him and his blind/deaf littermate outside in a fenced-in area that had no grass, just gravel. They were filthy and clearly uncomfortable from having to sleep on goddamn rocks for the better part of a month. My little 3-legged pom was allowed to stay inside, but underfed/fed from a regular bowl instead of her slow feeder to the point that she lost 1.5 pounds of her original 6 pounds. They claimed not to have noticed that her bones were visible even through her fur, but cheerfully told me that what they did worked so much better for them and the dogs than the very simple regimen spouse and I had them on to keep them safe, healthy, and comfortable. I should keep up everything they done at my house, too. They lost all pet-sitting privileges permanently, and we are now low contact with them, also probably permanently since I can't imagine my relationship with them will ever recover after their lame excuses when I called them out on their lies to me and their abuse and endangerment of my babies. My brother was always an asshole, but when it came at his daughters, he was a good father. That is until we find out that he was cheating on his wife and even took his daughters to meet his mistress on one of his rendezvous with her. They sat outside in the living room area of the hotel room while he did his disgusting deed. So now he's an asshole and a bad father. I was a garbage collector at a mall. I hated when people tried throwing garbage from a distance and don't pick it up when they miss the bin. Anytime I find out someone voted for Trump, left me on the side of the road in a panic attack for 2 hours not knowing what had happened to 2 of my friends, one of who I was crushing on, the other being the guy I'm talking about, while the guy raped the girl. On top of that, he was aware of my feelings for her. He tried to hit me up about 6 months after I broke it off asking for my help to find him some weed, and he never got a response. People that in a debate just try to make fun of you but don't have any opinion and are just stubborn but trying to look smart in a desperate way. Once had a friend back in 7th/8th grade who lied about getting raped by a mutual friend's older brother who had just been released from jail, not sure what for, just knew he was newly released within this time period. Her and her brothers, don't even know if they existed, never saw them physically. She talked about them and texted as them all the time, had gone to see said mutual friend and his brother. Next day at school she's acting different. Like, very skittish, jumped any time anyone touched her. I finally asked her, "Hey, you okay? You've been acting strange today. Is there something wrong?" She looks at me, tears in her eyes, and started sobbing that our mutual friend's brother had raped her. So instantly our friend group is trying to support her in any way she needed. This went on for roughly a week. I later get a huge message from her saying that her brothers found out, called the cops and got the sheriffs involved only to find out she lied, and made every little thing up. I was livid, told everyone in our friend group. Some sympathized with her because she probably just wanted attention, nothing wrong with that. Others were on my side saying, there is a lot wrong with that, she lied about something serious and now she can't be trusted anymore. Who knows if she'll do something like this again. Since that day her and I parted ways because she became a complete $100% to me and I was fine with her hating me for seeing through her BS and not wanting to be around her anymore for it. TLDR, a friend lied about being raped by a mutual friend's brother. We were no longer friends once the truth came out and she wasn't even sorry. I feel you. Got a lot of you'll understand when you're older, and you'll understand when you have kids of your own bullshit as a kid. Now I'm older and have my own kids, and I would never do some of the things he did. What an ass. Treating others like crap. You really want that in your life? I have no respect for those who defend assholes. Lots of things. I'm not a very hateful person at all, but I'm not saying I respect everybody. The earliest example I could remember of me losing total respect for someone was when some guy was running in the middle of the road while my dad was trying to find a parking spot, and my dad just honked and moved on. Once we got out of the car, the guy showed up and started arguing with my dad because my dad honked at him. The man was clearly in the wrong and was going out of his way to inconvenience us. People like that should be treated like a child if they want to act like one. No question. Supporting Trump. I used to belong to a church, and there were many fine, caring, and spiritual people whose lives I admired so much. I guess they were mostly all about abortion, but to me that is a lousy excuse to support someone corrupt, racist, dishonest, greedy, cruel, and just plain evil. To me there is no possible political ideology that justifies electing a person of such despicable character president. I will never respect these individuals again, or that church for that matter. For the record, I did not like Hillary Clinton, but it was not worth nominating Trump to beat her. Extramarital affair. Knowing they proudly teach their kids to be racist. Willful ignorance. Bragging about her 4-year affair. While holding their newborn son. I thought this was my good friend, but I completely lost respect and ended our friendship. 11 years of abuse before my mom left my father for one of her many lovers. Years of therapy as a young adult to reinvent myself and relearn what a healthy relationship is supposed to be like. Still struggling sometimes with various CPTSD symptoms, but I consider myself a survivor. Highly functioning adult now. Thank you all for the well wishes. I'm very touched. Lies, intolerance and hypocrisy. Trifecta AF evil. Sorry your mom is such a piece of shit. You made the right decision ditching her. Once in like 9th grade, my friend, her new BF, and I were sitting, talking, and eating together for the first 5 minutes of lunch when he starts making out with her, to which I ask them like, hey, I'm kinda uncomfy here, would you mind not fully making out while I'm here? And he just gave me a stink eye and just started kissing her even more dramatically than before, which made me immediately just leave. I lost respect for both my friend and her new BF. My friend because she just didn't do anything about it / say anything to me, and the BF for obvious reasons. My cousin. He used to be a cool guy and I could really laugh with him. Until he started hanging out with weird people. He started doing shit like threatening his father, my uncle, to beat him. He also beat up some guy with 4 of his friends. I know, right? Fuck you with your please and thank you bullshit. Get me my damn be a slave. One of my ex-friends decided to personally attack a lot of my other friends in a Discord that we all basically use as a glorified group chat. He insulted us based on our age, likes, personal goals, etc., anything he could get his hands on. People who act like, oh, I don't usually like people at first, I can be a little bitchy, acting like superior people, judging others, talking shit about them. A person you meet may not be a person you like, but there's no reason for you not to be nice or not trying to integrate someone. Get off your high horse, bitch. My uncle. He and his wife ran their business, a franchise, into the ground, and then assumed when they closed their doors that they'd come and help my mom run hers. When my mom refused, he called in the loan she owed him. It was a real BTCH move. Generally when people are bad parents I lose respect for them. I've seen it too much and it just disgusts me. A guy in my class called a perfectly average-sized girl fat. It was clear he only liked the insanely skinny, photoshopped baddies on Instagram, and he refused to believe that the normal woman's body was anatomically correct. Not returning items when asked. I have an ex-roommate who I asked to put a couple of necklaces of mine in her purse for a bit because they were irritating my neck. When I asked for them back, she told me later. To this day I still have not gotten them back, and she even has started claiming that she returned them when she clearly didn't. Thank goodness I cut her out of my life. Living with her. My brother's ex-wife. It was after Thanksgiving dinner at the table that she decided to just let it all out that she didn't love him, had been cheating on him for years, and that abortion bill he paid wasn't a hospital coding error. They have 2 children, and my brother's is an Iraq veteran who already has problems from that. He comes home and not even a year later is hit with that. I still see her often as they exchange kids after the divorce, but I literally look right through her, don't say a word, and have avoided acknowledging her existence entirely. So, she stole money and a bike from you? Yikes. Anybody who asks you to put your career/reputation on the line for their own benefit is an asshole in my opinion. Smugness. I can't stand smug attitudes. How he treated women's. Anytime someone's talked behind another's back to me, that's when I know I'll most likely avoid any further interactions with them. One example would be when I was in orchestra in HS. We were just assigned our placements, and my new stand partner turns to me and goes, "Don't talk to the girl behind us. She's annoying," and I just looked at her like, dead bodies are really tasty. Have you ever tried it? I recommend dead body with chips, peas, mushrooms and a tomato. Smile. WHRN. I came to my friend's home and opened the door. With key he gave me, I cuffed him fucking his couch. WZ? Lying. I immediately tune out when I feel deceived or lied to. I know someone who said his daughter was good enough to compete in gymnastics at the Olympics, but he wouldn't let her because there wasn't a career in it. Went on a date with a girl I had been talking with for a couple weeks. She waits until we are in person, and about 2 hours into the date to casually mention she has genital herpes. That's something you need to tell someone ASAP so they don't waste their damn time. I quickly ended that date. I'm not getting a STD for anyone. Anyone who betray me. When my ex-friend got pregnant shortly after we graduated high school, she invited me to a party, and when I got there she was so drunk I almost lost my shit. I remember telling her, "I can't believe you're drinking while you're pregnant, what the actual fuck is wrong with you?" before I turned around and left. You should respect me, I'm old/older. I know more than you do on any given subject. Disgusting person. They shared their crazy-ass political opinion. I could never get with a non-sentient object because where's the thrill of the chaise? Driving drunk or impaired. My best friend of 30 years was my maid of honor in my wedding. She waited till the week before to tell me she wasn't coming. Failure to recognize that anything Donald Trump says post the 1st of June 2021 should be given any credence or attention. If nothing he had done beforehand hadn't convinced them, then surely an attack on the Capitol and his reluctance to protect members of Congress should prove that he has no honor, no integrity, and no conscience. However, I still have family members who like his policies, or think he should have a role in promoting the COVID vaccines. No. The man should be in prison. When my grandmother played the no English card and held back telling the detective where my molesting uncle was. End of relationship. When they said in the first real conversation that I had with them, that they hated black people. I feel the same for Hillary or Biden, voters. Happy cake day op. When she called my brother a devil for not doing some homework, who is her only son. Over fucking homework. Someone who feels the need to one-up you all the time. One of my best friends since childhood had nothing to say when my brother died. He passed away unexpectedly and was only in his 20s, and I flew in from out of state to help my family with the funeral. All my friends in town rallied around me, but she was mysteriously missing. She knew about his passing for over a week but didn't call, text, or come to the visitation. My friends took me to one of their houses after the funeral to feed me and let me cry. She told one of our mutual friends later that she was mad at me for not inviting her personally to come hang out after the funeral with everyone. When my ex told me she didn't want a relationship, she just wanted friends with benefits. Like, I'm sorry, but I've treated you better than anyone in her life and all you can think about is fucking BCR the GD horny. Answered Thea's cell phone during a movie, in a theater. This was BT, before texting. How awful. I'm really sorry. Less than 3. Stayed at a nice hotel with cousin and wife, took a duplex apartment because it was bigger and worked out cheaper than if we took separate individual rooms. Came to check out and my cousin split the bill 3 ways, not 2. Making it more expensive for my wife and I. Later learned she is a compulsive miser, always orders the cheapest thing on the menu etc. Lame. Watched my grandfather throw a heavy set of keys at the neighbor's cat with the intention of killing it. Thankfully, he missed. I've never been able to look at him the same way again. A friend of my BF posts on FB a photo of his car, totaled and flipped over, with this long caption about how grateful he is that he survived, how the fact he walked away from this means life has so much more in store for him, blah blah blah. Really milking the sympathy. So many people were responding saying it's a miracle he survived, this is a sign that he's on the right path in life. My BF messages him to ask what happened. He was driving drunk. Friend of mine I had known since grade school decided to attempt suicide. This got pretty much everyone on high alert, to a point where my ex I refused to talk to called me up at 3 AM saying I have him at my house in case anything happens. Since said friend is hard to get a hold of, I contacted my other childhood friend, all 3 of us are mutual friends, to figure out what's up. Thankfully, he got the help he needed, but what grinded my gears was when he was out 2 days later drinking his face off like nothing happened. Apparently, everyone else thought it was just another Saturday night. The real kicker, apparently this is something he's done multiple times. From what I'm told it's to get attention. Safe to say, I won't be running if he cries wolf again. Manipulating me and using me as if I was nothing and only then to affect my future because of it. School sucks. One of my friend back in time. I don't call him a friend anymore. One day his mom called and told me he slapped her. He used to beat his mom. And when I confronted him, he said his mom is mentally not stable. I stopped talking to him, cut all ties. Few years later I got oh no he sexually abused his GF. Liars. I have no trust for someone who doesn't tell the truth. Even if it's a joke or a prank, I cannot trust you anymore. Always wanting me to join their MLM and realizing that they never wanted to just hang out. My former best friend has been dating my sister-in-law for 20 years now. Over the years he has cheated on her multiple times and I kind of ignored it. She knew so it's not like I was keeping a big secret. The final straw was 7 or 8 years ago when we were hanging out and he said he hooked up with my wife's cousin. I told him not to say anything else and he kept pushing it. A few days later he shows up at the house and is asking if he should pursue it. I told him that's up to him, but he better tell Sil the truth. He didn't pursue it, but he still kept trying to tell me about it. I cut him off and told him he needed to leave. We still see each other and talk at family functions, but haven't hung out at all. My wife just told me last week her and her sister were talking about how they can get us to hang out again. I bluntly told her it's never gonna happen and she looked surprised at my reaction. She had never asked why we don't hang out and probably just assumed we drifted apart, but didn't push it. After graduating college, my little from my fraternity became a different guy than the one I knew. He was with his girlfriend of 3 years and he started to cheat on her. With multiple partners, from both sexes, and used her apartment for some of the rendezvous. Just in general, he was completely disregarding her trust and he wasn't being safe. He passed an STD on to her. Haven't talked to him in probably 9 years because of it. In the middle of a conversation, he said, I'm okay with black people. I do have a problem with N/GS. Ever since I was little my eldest sister never treated me right so I don't think I had any respect for her to begin with. But I'd say the main point I realized she was a genuinely terrible person was when the news reached me. My family keeps everything a secret from me for whatever reason, that said sister was going to court because she was gonna lose custody of her children. Why? She refused to leave her abusive boyfriend who also most likely hit her children as well. one of which isn't his, so it scares me even more when he's around the child. She's still with him today and is even engaged. Another thing to point out is she's always had a gross fondness of the Joker and Harley Quinn's relationship. Always lying and blaming everyone else for their bad choices. Political beliefs is an incredibly broad descriptor. Political leanings in a moderate democratic society is one thing. Ideas must compete against opposing ideas if they are to be effected into good policy, so it benefits society to have liberal-leaning and conservative-leaning people. But that isn't nearly the extent of political belief. Political beliefs caused the Holocaust, slavery, 9/11, and basically every other large-scale atrocity in history. Some of those warrant a loss of respect. He said, "I think Trump gives great speeches. I was interested in a guy. His family would camp at a campground near my house. One weekend they were camping and he walked over and we took my new dog Rosie for a walk. She got spooked by something and refused to move. He took the leash and pulled on her hard enough to make her yelp. I only finished the hangout because I had shit for boundaries. Never saw him in person again after that, and definitely lost all romantic interest in him." And this was before he interrupted me by putting his hand over my mouth, and also before he told me my mom looked mannish. 2 different instances, same day. So yeah. Hurt my dog and you can fuck off forever. Rosie was okay. No damage was done. She was a large black lab and lived a good life. We had to put her down this past October. She was about 10 years old. The lack of mutual respect. When they started arguing with me that coronavirus was fake, I think you should stop having him as a friend. When people lie, for no reason, nobody rushed into the room with a gun and asked where underscore was, and expect you to co-sign their BS. When I turned 16 I realized my cousin, who I considered to be the brother I always wanted, was a lying, narcissistic, manipulative drug addict and often dragged my aunt's, who is a doctor, name in his little schemes so he can get free painkillers from our local hospital. Trained a new colleague over the phone. We've been work from home for years, and his cousin was injured and in the hospital after a mass shooting. Barely knew the chick a full day and she was upset, so I treaded lightly. A day or so later, she made a passing comment about her cousin and how the president was going to be visiting them in the hospital. I casually mentioned, "Well, that's nice." Silence for a few beats, and then Stone Cold said if I was there with the cousin, I'd spit in the president's face. I hate him. I had to have blanked out because I said, "Huh?" She repeated it again and I paused and said, "Oh. Okay, so here's where you go to file this report," and avoided the psycho till she got fired for something unrelated a few weeks later. More than half of my older brother's League games are versus bots. Just playing League isn't enough to lose my respect because I play it to lamau. Bigotry and cruelty. When they said it was my own fault for undergoing years of domestic abuse. I was working for Special Olympics and a friend I hadn't talked to in a while asked if I was still working at the Tard House. He then proceeded to try and recruit me to sell Advocare. I was once tutored by this one really well-known teacher in our city. Well, on the very first day he publicly shames me and I get laughed at by 100 people over some question I wasn't able to answer in a subject I'm quite bad at and was the main reason I was attending his class in the first place. Now I'm not saying this out of spite but because that one incident worsened my mental health tenfolds and made me scared of literally everything I do in front of more than 2 people in the fear of being laughed at. I lost all respect for that guy cause I later started getting bullied and made fun of and he didn't do anything to help. My mental health and loneliness was worse than ever by the time I left that place, even a little suicidal. All because I forgot some mensuration formula which wasn't even in the syllabus for that year. When they go out of their way to talk down your accomplishments and career, go so far as to dislike things you're interested in such as movies, music, technology. Activity ensures different opinions, generally has nothing positive to say and tries real hard to turn any reply into a dig, even if it doesn't make complete sense. I was a kid in Girl Scouts during the cookie season almost 20 years ago now. My troop did rather well selling cookies and we were supposed to get different prizes for reaching various numbers of boxes sold. Once all the money and checks were collected, my troop leader took it all for herself, a bit more than $5,000, and vanished. No one got any of their cookies or prizes. She was discovered some time later at an electronics store and arrested. Someone I slightly crushed on in HS shared a Facebook post implying that being non-binary means having a form of mental illness. Blocked on all platforms since seeing that 5 or 6 years ago. They were still having relations with their ex, while at the same time, trying to see me and have something. I said nope and walked away from that disaster. This was someone who I really cared for deeply but that made me feel gross. They lied about cancer and told me they had 6 months to live. All the time and effort I put into that friendship because I thought I was losing a good friend. Only for 2 years later, they tell me the exact same lie again. If I do something, it's bad. If she does something similar or worse, it's good. Wow. A persistent attitude that wearing a mask and encouragement to be vaccinated was akin to being Jewish during the Holocaust. The person was very sharp and charismatic in many ways, but this was just incredible. 6 figures? As a server? The head staff leader and bar manager for the River Oaks Bar and Grill in Houston, Harry, who I know personally, barely broke $90K and that's from a $40K salary and working 6 nights a week. The average server who works 5 full shifts at Bush Intercontinental knocks down between 45 to 50, that includes the President's Club staff, and they only make that because the airport mandates any employee receive minimum wage and receive yearly raises. Meaning they usually make about $20,000 before tips. I'm not usually one for spitting at things people say, but this comment smacks of creative writing. One time I had a high school teacher who was actually really kind and respectful and she never shouted or was impatient with her students. I had her every Wednesday and I always looked forward to her lessons. I would be walking to school with my friends and I'd be like, yes. I have misses today. They would always respond, ah. You mean the fat one? At that point I realized they couldn't care less about personality, but only looks. It explained why they always dated the popular girls that I've always hated and seemed arrogant beyond belief but looked good. Anyways, I kinda started to zone them out a bit. 5 years later and 2 of the 3 are in prison. The other is an alcoholic and a drug addict. Literally just happened. My friend, no longer, is living in my home. Still trying to get them out, rolling eyes face, anyway. They accused me of stealing their shoes and said I lied when they were mine. I found the proof and showed them they were mine. Now the relationship is tarnished and I have no respect or trust for them anymore. My best friend invested $1,250 in a business to get $600 profit back, only got $240 profit first time he reinvested my $1,250 again without telling me and I made no profit and have to constantly chase him to get his money. His mom paid most of it. He's a shit friend. I was hanging out with a kid that was pretty cool, but he never was prepared for class in the morning. He would always ask this quiet kid for a pencil, paper, and help with homework. But one day, the kid didn't have any extra pencils, and the cool kid went off on him. Everyone told him to chill, and just turned on him. We figured that maybe the cool kid just had a bad day, but the next day, he basically admitted that he was just using the quiet kid to get free things. The principal then responded by giving the cool kid detention every day, and every class, that he didn't have all the things for the class. He quickly got expelled after he racked up like 20 detentions in 2 weeks from what I heard. When I realized my BF's parents cared more about themselves than their own children's future, constantly borrowing tens of thousands for their own investments under the guise of a good intention, losing it all in the stock market, failing to realize they are dragging their kids' future down with them. White people. Littering. Really liked this guy, but we were in the car one day and he just threw his plastic bottle out while driving and that was it for me. Rape. When someone shows me, 21F, their boyfriend's dick pics. Sounds weird and like obviously that's a shitty thing to do, but I've had multiple friends do this in the past without me asking for it, and even after I've said point blank I don't want to see some guy's nudes, they'll just casually show me pictures the guy has sent them in confidence, and it's just icky to me, and also makes me wonder if the nudes I've sent guys have been casually shown to their friends in the same way. My cousin. He is quite a lot older than me, met his GF/future wife over the internet almost 17 years ago. They married, had 2 kids and moved into the same house my mom and I live. The last couple of months he changed tone. He said he didn't want the relationship anymore because he is too bored and his wife doesn't listen to his orders. He now goes out with another chick every other day even though they ain't divorced yet. He said his son was a failure but he wanted to keep his daughter, which he couldn't be. So wonder he never spent time with his daughter. It annoyed him. Now he plans on moving away and leaving his wife with over $200K bills for the not yet fully paid flat in our house. Treating the waitress in a very disrespectful manner on our first date. U/neck pillow happy cake day. Sounds like the guy who got a vasectomy when he and his wife were done having kids. Turns out a vasectomy doesn't prevent pregnancy, it just changes the race of the baby. A total lack of intellectual curiosity. Lost all respect for my son's mother. Things were alright but I told her if she's ever unhappy then just tell me instead of cheating. Well, she did the total opposite and was lying and cheating and caught her red-handed. Both me and my son did. Oh, was it fun to tell everyone about that. They all thought she was this innocent person but My best friend of 3 years assaulted a girl while she was drunk and he was sober. He didn't tell me about it, she did, and then he admitted it to me. I couldn't even speak to him, I was so disgusted and angry. When during the last elections in Italy, a friend of mine wrote, I vote for this guy is a DJ at a nightclub near Venice. Breaking promises. Still supporting Trump is an instant loss of respect. I'm L. She always acts super oblivious and says she has no ill intent because she's autistic, but I overheard a convo with her mom where she did nothing but trash me and several other people in her life. At first I was like, okay, maybe she doesn't mean it like this, maybe I'm overthinking it, I come from a family that everything means something, but after that convo, no. Hell no. She's snaky AF. I work at a grocery store for barely more than minimum wage. One of my co-workers came through my line with a full basket and started berating one of our newer employees, who was sacking her groceries. She was acting just like any other customer that makes our days worse than they need to be. I lost a lot of respect for her. Grey Dawnderer was a great YouTuber until he got too deep into the drama wormhole, causing him to damage his reputation. Now he keeps on reappearing and disappearing. He keeps on saying he won't be gone that long, but he is. I can't really trust him much anymore and his arguments are losing credibility. I heard he lost motivation to make videos, which explains his lack of uploads. Make rape jokes. Saw them zipping up a girl's pants when I walked in the room. I told her. He gave her a lot of Xanax and she had no memory of anything. Bit of background. I've always looked up to my manager. He's chill, always has time for everyone, brought the best out of me and is just an all-round good guy. When I first came into the team, he really took me under his wing and even pointed out that me and him had similar, like really similar, career paths before we both joined the team. He also has the perfect family, like Hollywood perfect. Then the rumors came out that he'd been sleeping around with women in the office after work /Christmas parties etc. Don't want to be judgy or anything, and what people get up to is their business, but I felt let down hearing it. He went from a guy I wanted to emulate to just another typical man who can't control himself. I still look up to him and appreciate everything he's done for me, but can't help but feel sorry for his wife when I see him in the office with some of the women in question. The husband of a friend was commenting on another girl's bikini pics. Things like, "You look so good. Can I hit you up? Maybe take you out?" He didn't know that I was friends with the other girl. Their attitude of nothing gets to me, so I can do whatever. Respect is earned, not given. I worked for longtime friend for about a year as a favor. They were such an inept and disrespectful boss that I lost all respect for them. Left and broke off all contact. Realizing my friend isn't a tough guy, just big on toxic masculinity. He's the sort to never apologize or do anything weak, and always has a big plan but doesn't leave the house. The kind of person who finds fault in everyone but nothing he does is wrong.